Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Bucko Brew, powered by DeFair Coffee and Tea. This is the North Shore 9 podcast presented by FanDuel. My name is Anthony DiNardo. This is Jim Rosati. Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to our show. How you doing, Jim?
Doing all right. Good morning.
Good morning. Big offseason start. Pirates are going all in. They got another pitcher.
Big splash. Big
Huge.
splash.
Huge. But yeah. Not much going on in that world, but we do have some major news that's kind of adjacent to the Pirates. We're going to talk about the big scandal going on. Luis Ortiz, Emmanuel Clase, arrested, facing potentially 65 years in prison over basically a measly, what, $12,000, Jim?
That's how much they got out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit more involved. But yes, it seems like a really stupid thing on their part.
Yeah.
Very stupid.
Very stupid. So again, there's quite a bit to talk about today. Do we want to start with the big scandal?
Yeah.
Let's
do it.
So, like we mentioned, Luis Ortiz came up with the Pirates system, was traded last offseason during the winter meetings to Cleveland, along with some prospects for Spencer Horwitz. And I know there was a lot of back and forth with the trade. There were some people who really liked it, people who really, really hated it. You certainly liked it a little more than I did, but I didn't hate it. You know, like I said, too, on there, like if, you want your guy and Spencer Horwitz was the guy, like go get him. I understand that concept, but I felt like it was a bit of an overpay to get Spencer Horwitz. Well, fast forward a year later, trade looks really good, Jim.
It's looking a lot better. Yeah. I mean, between the year that Horwitz had and now the fact that the main piece you gave up is in jail right now.
Yeah.
Awaiting trial on multiple charges. And will certainly never pitch again in Major League Baseball, I don't think. On top of that, might not even be a free man ever again at this rate. So yeah, it's insane. I mean, Luis Ortiz was a Pirate he was signed by the Pirates. He was in the Pirate system for a long time, 8 years, something like that. So it's definitely a shocking thing, and you like kind of once you see the details and everything involved here, it doesn't make sense why either of these guys would do this. I don't get it. I don't know why. I don't know why you would risk everything for what seems like $12,000.
Right.
Luis Ortiz makes $12,000, more than that every time he goes out there and pitches, So it's like, and you look at Clase, who's making even more money. Like it just doesn't make sense that something like this would happen. Like Luis Ortiz in 2024 made roughly $350 every time he threw a pitch. So like there's innings that he's making more than $5,000, $7,000.
Yeah.
And the fact that he went along with this is just a little surprising to me. And like I said, just seems very, very dumb.
Very dumb. Like the juice isn't worth the squeeze here, like at all. You're risking everything. And again, we're not even talking career, but like your life, your freedom for this measly payment. Seriously? And again, like I know Luis Ortiz isn't on like a major deal. Clase is even worse. Like that, I have no idea for. Like, again, I'm not trying to justify Luis Ortiz, but like maybe let me hear you out, Luis. You know, let me understand why. Clase, like, I mean, for real. I mean, you're getting what 38 million more left on his contract. Like, why even entertain this? This is a joke, right? And even if you wanted to go ahead and earn some extra cash, cheating and lying and doing all this defrauding, like for $5,000, like my value is $5,000. You better come at me with something else, bro. $5K for me to get involved into this, it ain't worth it for me. But apparently it was. And again, like kind of what we're talking here of, I mean, there were just there's bets. We understand, you know, there's sports betting is highly, you know, out there in all the leagues. They advertise it. They're very involved with it.
This
And
podcast is brought to you by FanDuel.
right. But like you can bet on individual outcomes of plays. You know, when the Steelers are driving, will they score a touchdown on this drive, right? Will this ball be a strike, right? Will the first pitch in the third inning be a ball or strike? Like that is a bet that you can do. And pitcher has a lot to do with that outcome. They can literally throw a ball or a strike. And if you're going to throw a ball to make sure it's a ball for certain bettors that are paying you to do so, you might throw it in the dirt just to make sure. And like that's what happened. And it's funny because like certain things like alerted, right? Like here's something I want to point out here, Jim. Really, when you think about this, do you know how this was uncovered?
How?
Analytics.
Yeah, and I mean we'll get into a deeper conversation around this, and I think there's a lot of discussion that we can have that like, hey, is the gambling aspect going too far? Like, is baseball in bed with these sports books and advertising it and shoving it in everybody's faces too much, and that's going to just ultimately lead to this kind of stuff? I don't know. We can discuss that, but yeah, I do want to sort of just set the stage here. So if you haven't, I'm sure everybody's already heard of it, but I do want to kind of throw out some details here. So the charges that they are being that they're being charged with, that the indictment was, I looked at the indictment yesterday and kind of just broke it down. So I just want to summarize it. So they're being charged in federal court with wire fraud conspiracy, honest services wire fraud conspiracy, conspiracy to influence sporting events by bribery, and money laundering conspiracy. They were rigging pitches in the game, agreeing in advance with bettors on what type of outcome of pitch would be thrown, and then that was used to place those bets. Clase got involved with this back in 2023. So like Clase was already in this.
Mm-hmm.
And he essentially brought Ortiz into the mix starting in June of this season. So none of this happened while Luis Ortiz was a Pirate. So, you know, we can
Right.
kind of rest easy there. Like Luis Ortiz was completely clean as a Pittsburgh Pirate. But in June of this season, Ortiz pretty much was brought in on this by Emmanuel Clase. And Ortiz did this twice, you know, where he agreed to throw balls in exact certain situations. The first time he did it, he got paid $5,000. The second time he did it, they got paid $7,000. So yeah, like total of $12,000 is what was given to Luis Ortiz here. The bettors won a total of $60,000 on Luis Ortiz's pitches. Clase's was a little bit more because he's been doing this for longer. $400,000 in winnings from Emmanuel Clase. But yeah, they are, if they are convicted of this, each of them faces up to 65 years in federal prison. And like the evidence is pretty damning at this point. You usually don't get arrested for this kind of stuff unless you're guilty. Like, they don't arrest you for stuff unless they know they got you.
Yeah.
And the evidence seems pretty damning out there. They've got text messages, they've got everything, they got communication back and forth. Like, they're guilty here.
Yeah, this is deep. This is bad. This is not good. And like I want to add something here, because again, like people are trying to decipher this and wonder why, right? And like Troll here says he may have oh, never mind. That's going back to it. Yeah, Ortiz is probably the only success story from the Dominican for the Pirates recently. But no, he did say something like it's possible that wasn't necessarily for him, but for his friends and relatives back in the DR. He tells them to bet on the game, they get a massive windfall. I mean, it's possible, but in the same sense, like you can just tell them, like you don't have, like you're involved with someone. You can just say, like, hey, you guys need some money. Do this, right? There's no payment there. He's getting paid by someone to do something. So someone's in his ear saying this stuff. Like that to me doesn't sound like it's like people from the DR are benefiting from it. But again, like even if they are, like that's for what? For what? For $12,000? Like, hey, here's just $12,000. I don't understand why you do this for that. And like you said, like Clase was doing it for some time. Also, I find it kind of weird. Like he was doing it for some time, hush hush. Then he involves Luis Ortiz. Like that, I'm kind of curious to that also. Like, why does Luis Ortiz come in, and why is it only Luis Ortiz, or is it only Luis Ortiz? That's what I'm kind of curious on as well. Don't know. Maybe we'll know. Maybe we won't. Doesn't really matter either. But they're both guilty of this. I don't get it. Again, everything just sounds so stupid on this. Like, why are you doing this for, again, a $12,000 payment? Until like you did it twice. I get it. Like, hey, might sound like a foolproof thing. Like, I'll throw what's one pitch. You're not throwing a game. And a lot of this too is, I mean, stuff. This has been a big scandal with the NBA also of recent. I mean, opening night of NBA was not so great because it was tarnished by a lot of betting situations, But like I think a lot of it also in the NBA was it didn't really change like outcomes of games. It just like shaved some points. Like, hey, instead of winning by 11, make sure you only win by 9. So I want to say this too, and I'm not trying to justify this also, but like the integrity of the game wasn't totally impacted. Like they still won. It just didn't win by as many. And like with Luis Ortiz, in the Clase A, you might be thinking like it's one pitch. Like I'm not throwing the game here. I'm just throwing a ball. So like I've thrown the ball in the dirt before. Like they're not gonna catch this. This is like fine. Like you're not asking me like, hey, you need to make sure you lose this game. It's like, hey, just throw a ball. It's like, you know what? I'm Luis Ortiz. I throw many first pitch balls. Like whatever. I'll still end up getting the strikeout or the out or whatever. Like maybe that's how they're trying to justify this. And it's like for $5,000, like sure. But again, I got you did it one time. Here's $5,000 doesn't change anyone's life. $5,000 for them, especially, like doesn't do much. I'm lost. But again, like it's a singular play. Oftentimes, like this isn't going to change an outcome of the game. So again, I'm not trying to say like integrity is intact, but I am trying to say like maybe that's why they justified it some more. It's like, well, it's not really changing the outcome. We're not losing. Like we still can go to the playoffs here and whatnot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like do 2 pitches affect everything? No, like these 2 pitches really have very minimal effect, right? But
right,
I think the reason why this is such a big deal is you can kind of go down a slippery slope here. Once you do it once and you get away with it, and you do it twice, you get away with it. It can keep kind of getting bigger and bigger. You brought up before, like the analytics part. I think if they would have done this one time, no one would have ever noticed. Like if it happens once, it's like, all right, well, that guy got lucky. They randomly placed a bet and they won, right? The fact that it happened multiple times that's where, the red flags start showing up. Wait a minute.
Right.
There were, because you can bet on the pitches thrown, and we can argue about the merit of, like, is sports betting going too far if you can bet on individual pitches? There are hundreds of these every game. Why must we bet on individual pitches? There are plenty of other things that we can bet on. Why are we betting on individual pitches thrown? Like, we could argue that seems kind of silly. And it also opens up things like this. Like, that's an easy thing for someone to kind of manipulate. If it happened once, I don't think anybody would have noticed. But I said, when it happens twice and it's the same pitcher and it's blatant, and you're like, hold on, this exact same person bet the first time, then, like, this is where the regulation is actually a good thing. Like, before, when sports gambling still was happening, it just wasn't legal. You had people placing bets and no one really knew exactly what was going on. Now everybody knows what's going on. These sports books, they're smart. They don't want to get screwed over. They know exactly what everyone's doing all the time. So you could argue, like there's some people, it's like a double-edged sword here, right? Where you're saying, hey, like, the prevalence of sports gambling is leading to this sort of thing. Well, the prevalence of sports gambling is leading to it being discovered more, because now everything's being done out in the open. Like, these bets are being placed for everybody to see, whereas before they may have not been. Like who knows? I maybe this stuff used to happen all the time, or at least not all the time, but every once in a while, and we just never knew about it because there wasn't any way to track it. Now everything is tracked by everyone. Like I said, and when the sports books think they're getting screwed over, they're going to investigate it. And when they investigate it and they find this out, that's when it's going to go public like this. So if sports gambling wasn't legal, this may have never been found out.
Right.
If sports gambling wasn't legal, would this have ever happened? I don't know. Like I said, it's one of those things, like, we'll never know what happened before. Like, sports gambling has been super prevalent now for the better part of 5-6 years. It kind of just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger as more states approve it and legalize it. So it's just, yeah, it's a weird conversation to have, because I don't know if this stuff happened before, and we'll never know if it happened before unless players come out and talk about it, which they're not going to do because it's highly illegal. So it's interesting to me. I don't think it's this huge thing where baseball's in trouble, sports are in trouble. How can we ever expect any of this to be real, or is the game rigged? Like, I don't think we're to that point, and I don't think we'll ever get to that point, because, again, the reason why this was caught and brought to light is because of the regulation of sports gambling, is because of, it's legal now. So
Right.
yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents just on the whole aspect of this. Like, the players know this is wrong. If there's we talked about it with Marcano. Like, this isn't a situation where Tucupita Marcano got sucked into the ads of gambling. I mean, he obviously did, and like my father says, it's a disease. It can be addictive. Like, if you have an addictive, if you're prevalent to being an addict, gambling could be something that you can be addicted to. I don't know if it's as much of a problem as some people think it is. I think it's just that we're actually hearing about the ones that happen, whereas before we would have never found out.
Right. Yeah. And, before I go into this, let me tell you all about our sponsor of the show. So DeFair is a family and employed and operated business. They believe that coffee and tea are one of life's simplest and most accessible pleasures, and when enjoyed thoughtfully can open your eyes to the here and now. They have 5 locations across the city of Pittsburgh, including their flagship in the heart of Pittsburgh's historic Strip District. Don't forget to stop by DeFair's new location downtown on Penn Avenue, right across from the Benedum. Grab a cup and fuel up on your walk to PNC Park. Mobile ordering is available. Check out their Instagram for details. And of course, we all know if you go to DeFair.coffee, the website, and you purchase something the very first time, Jim, tell them the code to put in, save some money.
Yeah, put in code NS930, NS930, and you'll get 30% off your first order at defair.coffee.
There it is. There it is. Good stuff. Good stuff. You can get our Bucko Brew mug as well if you go on our merch shop.
Yeah.
But anywho, yeah. So like you said, it is kind of funny and ironic. Like it was analytics that looked at this. I mean, for one thing, Luis Ortiz throws a strike 63% of the time on the very first pitch. So, I mean, again, like balls happen, but typically you throw a strike, and he does. And he throws strikes more than most people do on their first pitch. So that's uncommon for him to throw a ball. Secondly, why was a lot of money put on this pitch more than normal? There was a lot involved, and it happened again. And so twice when Luis Ortiz was on the mound, there was a lot of money involved to throw a ball, and he did it both of those times. And he normally throws a strike. I'm interested. And that's what I like. I mean, and from the sound of it, MLB then took it to the authorities, you know, like they didn't keep it hush hush. So like for a lot of stuff that we say, you know, like kudos and to them, they didn't try to keep this hush hush. It wasn't like, all right, guys, let's keep this in house and let anyone know. But again, like I do think because of the way sports betting is and how invested these organizations are with it, that was the right move. And you know, something I want to bring to light as well and talk about, because I know this was a big thing, you know, and everyone goes back to like the Pete Rose situation and such, you know, like, you know, Pete Rose is looking down on this and laughing, right? And it's like, oh, you know, will Luis Ortiz get 65 years? You know, bet the over and under right now at FanDuel.com to do so. And it's like, I get that, but the same sense, like that's not like I don't. But there really no true correlation to this. It's not like, oh, you know, how can they be mad at this when they're so invested into sports betting and such? And it's like that's still like you still know that's wrong to do. Even though that's a sponsor, and even though it is now legal to do, and people do bet in sports, right? It's not like to me, it's not as if like you can't frown upon this because you're with FanDuel or you're with DraftKings or you're with whomever, you know, because like at the same point, you look at MLB sponsors. There's quite a few. I mean, I'm sorry, where'd it all go here?
But I mean, yeah, I understand.
Budweiser,
yeah.
like Budweiser's a sponsor, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean that these guys can just drink on the field? T-Mobile is a sponsor. Does that mean that they can have communications on the field? Like no, like that doesn't just because it's a sponsor doesn't mean that like now you're just allowed to do whatever you want with that. For the same reason that, you know, they have a sponsor of Budweiser, you can't just drink on the field, right? Like they're sponsored by these sports betting places. Doesn't mean you can out just bet on your games and do stuff like this, right? Take bribes. So like there is no correlation here.
I said I'd be willing to entertain either side of this. Like the more you promote something, the more you advertise something, like the more prevalent it's going to be. Like if alcohol was not allowed to advertise in any way, would less people drink alcohol? Probably.
Cigarettes.
Yeah, like cigarettes. Once they put like big regulations on advertisements for cigarettes, you saw cigarette smoking drop in America. So I think there is certainly like a level of responsibility to advertising. So we could get into like the morality of this entire thing, and I think eventually we'll probably get there, because these are also all things where it's interesting because like you pick and choose, right? Like cigarettes, they made like kind of this decision that, hey, you can't advertise this stuff anymore because it seems like you're advertising it to minors. It seems like you're advertising it in maybe areas that are, more at risk to doing these things. So it's like there was like there were algorithms to like how we were going to advertise cigarettes, right? And it was bad. And so they put regulations in place on that thing. You don't really see those regulations on alcohol and gambling right now. You see it on on tobacco. You don't see it on those other two. So it's like, where do you draw the line? Why is it that tobacco advertising is one thing, whereas alcohol and gambling is another? I don't know if it just means those two lobbies are just a little more powerful than the tobacco lobby was. Probably. Yeah, I don't know. We just haven't gotten to that point yet. Right now, we just kind of seem to be in the still in the very early stages of like regulated sports gambling, where it's just try to bring in as many customers as possible. Like that's sort of the stage that we're in. And so, yeah, you just kind of see it shoved down your throat. I get it. It can sometimes be annoying. Like when you're watching the Apple TV baseball broadcast and there's just constant odds on your screen at all times. Like that's, it's not the most enjoyable experience in the world to me. So yeah, there's, I said, there's like ethics to this, there's morality to this, but to go back to the original point, like this is like the number one no in baseball is you don't do this. Right. Like every player is very well aware of this.
Next to crying, this is it.
Yeah, like this is like the main no. And so if you're doing this despite seeing advertisements or whatever, like if you get caught, you're done. And that expectation, that is extremely clear to everyone involved. Like there's no gray area here. There's no, oh, well, I could, you will give you the benefit of the doubt. Like it's no. Like if you do this, you are done.
Right. So let me ask you, like, where do you think this ranks as top of scandals? Like again, like with Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe. I mean, like,
I don't think it's that high. Yeah, no? Because you're still talking about like, again, you're not betting on the outcome of games.
Sure.
Like those scandals were. Like one was betting on the outcome of the World Series. Like that's about as bad as it gets, right? When you talk about the Black Sox scandal. That's it. Like that's the pinnacle. That's the biggest no there is. So I would say this is significantly less than that. This is significantly less than any, sort of Pete Rose thing where he's betting on outcomes of games. This is betting on a pitch in a regular season game. And John says that we know of, but like, here's the deal. Like there are enough levers in place now where if this happens, like they get caught. And I said that they got caught here. And this wasn't necessarily some huge thing. Like there wasn't millions of dollars placed on these pitches. Like it was just more than there should have been, right? I mean, like I said, $60,000 were won on the two pitches that Luis Ortiz threw. And $60,000 is a lot of money, but like when you're dealing with sports gambling, it's a drop in the bucket, right? Like these these gambling companies, the $60,000 is it's a rounding error sometimes,
right?
But it's enough to trigger those red flags for them, and yeah, like it's the fact that it's regulated now means that if this stuff happens, like they're going to get caught. That's my thinking on it.
And that's the thing, though. Like this proves and kind of shows, and again, like not only just in baseball, like again, all this stuff that happened in NBA and such. it's kind of proving and showing how it's very easy to catch this. It's very easy to catch this. So when you think like, hey, I'm just throwing one pitch and it's going to be a ball, no one's going to know. Like they knew, they found out, they caught this. The NBA just shaving points, just be like, hey, I'm going to not make this and keep it to 9 points. They caught that. And all these guys are like going to jail. This whole ring, right? And this ring right now, I know it's just 2 people, but like it's being caught. And I'm hopeful. Now, going back to the whole addiction part, like I also people, the egos on people, like, well, I'm above it, they'll never catch me. I don't think this is gonna be the last time. Just simply for the fact, like, I don't think it's gonna be the last time, but I also don't think it's like this is running rampant and this is gonna be a huge part of sports. And you can't trust anything anymore because these guys are facing 65 years. 65 years. Most people are millionaires. Most people are getting a whole lot of money. Like I know those people are getting in trouble, and there's people who like just love the thrill and think they're above it and can do it. So again, I don't think it's going to be the end of it or last time ever. But like, I don't think this is a problem. I don't think this is going to become a problem either. This might be one thing where you're in bed with some of these people, which I think was happening more like in the NBA to some level. But you might again, like you might be betting legally, right, on other sports, right? But you owe these guys a lot of money, and they say, "Hey, you want to make things right? Go ahead and do this. Maybe you feel your back's to the wall, and this is the only way out." And that's what I said. Like, I don't think this is the last time, but I don't think this is a situation where it's like, all right, this is going to ruin baseball. This is going to ruin all sports because again, like the punishment is so harsh on this. It's so easy to find this type of stuff that I think we're good. I think we're okay. It sucks right now. But I think what you're finding is a lot of stuff is coming to light recently that it ain't worth it.
And it makes you curious. Like I said, the reason why we're finding this stuff out is because of the regulation of it now. So it is interesting. Like, I don't know, 20 years ago, how relevant was this then? And that we just never knew about it. Like, how easy would it have been for pitcher A on the 2011 Pirates to throw a ball in the 6th inning one time?
And I guess my rebuttal to that is in 2011, is anyone taking that bet? Like, is that
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there would have been. You probably wouldn't have been able to do it through like a regulated sports book on like
But that's
in
what I'm
Vegas,
saying.
but
Like,
you could have done some offshore gambling thing, and yeah, you could have done that. You
okay.
could have done 1 or 2 things probably 15, 20 years ago and gotten away with it. Because
And I know getting away with parts there, but I didn't think these type of bets were as prevalent then as they are now
these
because it's
ones,
legal and it's
yeah,
on the websites and what I mean, there's action around it.
yeah, that I'm not aware of, but I'm sure there was plenty of weird stuff you could have figured out how to do. But
Yeah.
no, it's I said it's one of those things where hopefully these last couple years kind of serve as just like an example. Like, hey guys, like we're not messing around with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it. And again, you're always going to try to find. You're always going to have people who try to skirt the system, though. I mean, they test for steroids, and you're going to be
Right.
tested for steroids. Yet people still fail those tests.
Now I'll say this. I at least have a little bit of an understanding on that because taking steroids likely is going to net you more than $12,000.
Yeah.
There's at least a little bit more juice to squeeze out of that one. And again, it's not me condoning it. It's just like I can sometimes rationalize that. I am on the outskirts of not even being in baseball, let me try to keep this $800,000 job. Not like, hey, I have an $800,000 job, or hey, I'm making $8 million a year. Let me go get 12K. But anyways, yeah. So I don't know. All in all, this sucks. I'm with you. It's not up there with Pete Rose, but I think it's very, very close. To me, in my eyes, this is very, very close. Just simply because of the nature, just simply because, the way I understand it, it's not at least mafia related, like the guys in the NBA. So like at least it's not that in that landscape.
these are two bettors from the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
So which is
again,
probably why they aren't being arrested, because the United States doesn't have jurisdiction in the Dominican Republic. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but yeah, the two people who did it in America, they're screwed.
Right.
And you could say that like 65 years seems to be excessive on this, but anytime you get into this is fraud, multiple counts of fraud. Those come with stiff penalties. Yeah,
I understand you may be against the whole betting situation, such, but right, you frauded who knows how many thousands of people. I mean,
yeah, because all the people who bet strike on that, people who bet strike on that, they're victims now. Like,
yeah. So I get like it doesn't sound like it sounds excessive, I should say, but in reality, you frauded a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right. We ready to move on?
Sure.
Talk about
let's
maybe
do it.
some lighter things.
Yeah.
The Arizona Fall League Home Run Derby was this weekend, as well as the Fall Star game last night, where Esmerlyn Valdez and Tony Blanco were participants of. We kind of previewed the Home Run Derby. Talk about the format like they're a team, and of course, the team that wins, they go up against each other. Well, that outcome came to fruition. Team Valdez Blanco won, and then they faced off on each other. It was a show, and I'll tell you what, it was certainly a show highlighted by Tony Blanco Jr., who ultimately won it.
Yeah, I mean, it played out perfectly, right? I mean, when we talked about it, it's like, this is going to be really cool if they can win and then square off against each other in the finals. And not only did they win, but they stole the show, both of them. Blanco's particularly did, but you look at what Valdez did, and Valdez was the clear-cut second best performance that was put on here. In total, Blanco Jr. hit 24 homers, for a grand total of 32 points. Things like the distance of the balls had to do with how many points they got. So that the farther the home run was hit, the more points. Valdez, 16 homers, 23 points. But the next closest was Ethan Petrie at 12 homers, 15 points. So like these two guys lapped the competition. Quickly disposed of their opponents in the first round, quickly disposed of their opponents in the second round, and then got to square off against each other in the finals, which was, like I said, it was like a fairy tale ending. It was exactly how it was drawn up. I think that's how the Arizona Fall League probably wanted it to go, because they knew, hey, these two guys are going to put on the best show, specifically Tony Blanco Jr. And it was fun, because especially since we were down there and we got to talk to both of them, and you asked them that question. You're like, hey, who's going to win a home run derby between the two of you? Both of them agreed it was going to be like, Tony was like, it's me. Valdez was like, Tony's crazy. Tony's crazy is what is this quote. So yeah, super fun. Tony Blanco Jr., while this was happening, also hit the hardest baseball ever recorded by StatCast ever.
Yep.
Ever.
Yep.
No home run ever hit in a home run derby at the major league level has ever been hit harder than one of the homers that Blanco hit. It was 122.9 miles per hour. It's the hardest baseball ever recorded in the StatCast era, which was
in history.
10 years. But yeah. There was one where he hit the ball and it went off like a roof out in left center field that was very, very far away from the wall. And every teammate, all the players who were on the field just lost their minds. And they were all essentially saying like they've never seen a ball hit that far ever in their lives. So yeah, it was a show. It was they put on a show. Congrats to Tony Blanco Jr. and Esmerlyn Valdez. They've had a hell of a fall. So this was a really cool kind of moment to put a cap on that. Tony Blanco Jr.'s, his father at the beginning, when was that? Like March, April. His father like tragically passed away earlier this year back in the Dominican Republic. There was like, I think we all remember that accident, like a roof caved in on a building. And dozens of people perished in that. And his father was one of those. So he dedicated this to his dad. Lots of emotion afterwards. Him and Valdez were, crying, hugging each other after it. So just a really great moment for the two of those guys.
Yep. 100%. I'm happy for him. And like you said, it was absolutely a show. We discussed it. We talked about, and it's not live. We predicted like who would win. Tyler was on board with Valdez, and I was leaning that way because, like, again, Tony Blanco Jr. can certainly hit the ball hard, but there's more than just hitting the ball hard in a home run derby. Because again, like, O'Neal Cruz didn't win the home run derby, right? So I thought, it's going to be close. I might lean towards Valdez. I don't know. I don't even know who I picked officially. I could go back and forth with them both. And Tony Blanco
that makes sense.
Jr.
That checks out for you, yeah.
But Tony Blanco Jr. proved that Tony's crazy. It wasn't close. It wasn't close. And that's like, again, like not a shot at Valdez or anything. Because again, Esmerlyn Valdez put on a show compared to the rest of the pack also. Tony Blanco Jr. just showed how he's king of the home run derby. It was crazy. And it's, I found kind of funny too, is Tony Blanco Jr. kind of seems like a gentle giant, if that makes sense to me. This is the small interactions I've had, we've had and seen him and such. Like he is a giant, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But he's kind of quiet, soft spoken, man.
Yeah.
When he hit the winning home run, right, to win the derby, like the pure emotion out of him, he slammed the bat down. I was like, oh my God, Tony, what's going on here? This guy's fired up. So yeah, it was nice to see him win that. And like he said, right, like my dad never saw me in a home run derby when he was alive. This is for him. So they kind of hit you in the feels a little bit also, like, hey, this is cool. This is really cool. Good for him. Shout out to him. He showed exactly, this is the one tool he has, right? Like right now, this is why he's not a top prospect. He's hovering around 30 because there's some struggles. The contact rate's really, really low. If he's going to be a legit prospect, he's going to have to make better contact, not strike out as much. But the reason why he's in the top 30 is this right here. The hardest baseball ever hit. The farthest baseball some of these guys ever seen. That's a tool that's better than almost anyone on the planet, right? He's in the top 5 of people in the world, essentially, at his age. So it's kind of watching his journey. Let's see where this goes, because that's exciting stuff.
Yeah. The K rate's gonna be the issue there, is and can he get that either a little bit? He's gonna have to get it a little bit more under control.
A lot more.
He's gonna have to get it a little bit under control. Dippy says, do they both get brought up this year? Blanco's not close to the majors. Valdez, on the other hand, is. I think Esmerlyn Valdez, I think he's it'll be curious. I'll be curious on how they handle him, because I think he showed this fall that like he's definitely ready for more advanced pitching, right? And like he played in Double-A for about 2 months this season, struggled right off the bat, but made a pretty quick adjustment to it. He ended the season, with pretty good numbers in Altoona. So do you send him back to Altoona and then bring him up to AAA, or do you fast track him and start the year in AAA? Like I said, I'm curious on how they handle it. He's still just 21 years old, so like you're talking about a guy who's still really young. So the fact that he did what he did in AA and in the fall league at his age is a really good sign. If I'm the Pirates, I'm desperate for offense, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like Arizona Fall League is pretty much AA competition. Like if I've
Mhm.
got to place it somewhere, I'm saying it's roughly AA competition. So he played 51 games in Altoona, and then he played another month and a half in the fall. Let's push this kid. Like, he's done nothing but hit everywhere you've put him. Start the year in AAA, and because I mean we know how desperate this Pirates offense is. Like, 2 to 3 months in AAA hitting, he might be ready by this year. I think that's aggressive. Like, that's debuting at 22, and he was in Greensboro last year at halfway through the season. But like, again, he's done nothing but hit everywhere
Yeah.
you've put him, and he seems to be getting better. Like, there was always the power, but there was also always these concerns on the swing and miss stuff. Whereas now, as he's progressed, as he's seen better pitching, he's gotten better at the stuff you want to just see get under control, like the strikeout rate and the walk rate. Like, he's walking more, he's striking out less, and he's not sacrificing power. Like, that's all really good. Those are all really good signs. So, yeah, we talked about, if you watched the point on Friday, we talked about being aggressive with Connor Griffin. I think you'd be aggressive. You're aggressive with Esmerlyn Valdez too.
I might push back a little bit on that, just a little bit here, because I get what you're saying, and like, he's done everything to entertain that thought, and that's why, like, kudos to him, because he wasn't on the Blanco extreme, but coming into this year, it was this kid has a lot of power, but the contact rate isn't really there. He strikes out. Can he be a legit prospect, or is this going to be a fun story of a kid who has a lot of power but doesn't make it? And he did a lot to clean that up this year. Like you mentioned, the contact rates, not gonna say exploded, but certainly got to a level where you're confident, like, hey, this is a real prospect. He has struck out 30.6% in single A in 2024. And then this year he comes over and in high A, 24.5, 24.7 in double A. So now he's up to double A, and the strikeout rate is still it's fine. It's respectable. He struggled early in double A when he got the promotion, and then like things clicked. And that happens with prospects. Like, that's not a knock on him. People adjust. You get to a higher level, there's an adjustment period. The thing was, he didn't struggle the entire time. It then clicked, and he tore it up, to end the season in double A, and then he carried it over to the Arizona Fall League. So he's doing everything he can to entertain this idea. I guess where I'm at is, even though the Pirates are struggling for offense, like, you can't put it on this kid. Connor Griffin's different. Connor Griffin's different. To me, Esmerlin's not that guy. And I think he will. I'm confident that he'll debut this upcoming year. Like, that's what I feel like. At some point, he'll probably be in a Pirates uniform. When and for how long, I don't know, but he's on track to debut this upcoming year. Tony Blanco Jr., absolutely, like, he's far, far, far away. But Esmerlyn has put himself in a situation where, like, he is a legit prospect now. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're going to protect him in the Rule 5, keep him in the organization. And yeah, he's definitely on track to be in a Pirates uniform this year. That's exciting.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's being quite aggressive. I think
Yeah,
expecting him to debut next year is being aggressive. So I
agree.
think we're in the same
And
boat.
especially like where he was a year ago. Again, think
Yeah,
about where he was. This is really like
yeah,
best case scenario for Esmeralda Valdez,
yeah.
essentially.
Now, like I said, the thing with Valdez that is different from Griffin is Griffin certainly seems to have all the characteristics of like a can't miss guy. Valdez still, there's still some things here that, like, there is some potential. There's bust
Oh
potential
yeah.
here, right? But there are also things that you like seeing at this point in a prospect's development. So, and the fact that he's been playing a lot of corner outfield helps too. Like before, when we mostly thought he was going to be a first baseman, that kind of affects things a little bit. But I mean, I think this guy can handle right field. I don't think he's ever going to be like a really good defender, but I think he can handle right field, which
as long as
helps
the bat
him
plays.
helps him quite a bit. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I said, as long as he can hit and as long as he can slug, like it's not really going to matter. You're going to find a spot for him. I think you could put him in left field if you needed to in a pinch. That's probably not ideal for him, especially at PNC Park. But yeah, I mean, this kid's been very impressive this season, and I'm looking forward to what he can do at an even higher level next year. Again, it's just all trending in the right direction for him.
For sure. Next up, the Pirates major splash. Everyone who got the World Series tickets already are loving this. Pirates signed lefty Joe La Sorsa. And essentially, if he makes the major league roster, so it's one of those deals again. Like, this is also like, yeah, this is where we're at right now. And what I want to say also is like every team does this. The problem is if the Pirates are only doing this type of thing, that's the problem. Every team does this. Every team does this. And for the people that like, oh, they don't need pitchers, they need hitters. No, they also need pitchers too. Every team needs pitchers regardless. And this team lost a lot of bullpen arms. They don't have that many lefties. This kind of fits the mold. Like, hey, it's a lefty in that sense. But like, yeah, I don't really foresee much out of the source. To me, it's absolutely just a depth piece. There's not much to me. It's funny. This kind of goes back to like the Dugan. Was it Dugan?
Dugan Darnell.
Dugan. Okay. I keep saying Dugan, but the thinking is not Dugan. Anyways, when they picked them up from Colorado, it was like, like this isn't too exciting for me. Well, this is even less exciting. However, it's a lefty. Pirates do need lefties. And again, this isn't more or less like a true major league deal. He has a MLB invite. If he gets added, $800,000 salary. But he's a lefty who has had bad numbers. When you look at this stuff, even the minor leagues, like it was very, very mid at best stuff in the minor leagues. So, yeah, he's been kind of all around with the Rays, Nationals, Reds. To me, like this is just a guy who they need a lefty. Here's some depth. But to me, this isn't like, oh, this is going to be part of our bullpen for the future. It's just
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
he's a guy.
yeah, I don't want to spend too much time like breaking down a minor league free agent signing. He's a lefty reliever. Stuff Plus says his slider's decent. Everything else is quite bad. When he has been in the majors, yeah, Stuff Plus has got his slider at a 114. For his
Is that the major league?
In the majors, yeah.
Oh, because I remember for the minors this year, I think it was an 85.
Okay, well, Stuff Plus likes him, and on like Eno's Stuff Plus on Fangraphs likes him. The slider, at least, nothing else. So I want to preface that. So yeah, he's a lefty with what seems to be a pretty decent slider, but every time he's been in the majors, even his better years in the majors were still very pedestrian. Like when he was with Washington and Tampa, like you're still looking at ERAs in the mid fours. Doesn't really strike anybody out. The control seems to be okay. Like he doesn't walk a bunch of people,
bit of strikes.
But doesn't really have the swing and miss stuff. And he had an awful year in his 5 games in Cincinnati this past season. So yeah, I mean, overall, his career numbers look bad. When he has gotten more playing time, he's at least been like replacement level. So I mean, this is a guy where if you need a lefty in a pinch, you can probably bring him in. You don't really want to use him in high leverage situations, probably, but he's a depth option for the left side of the bullpen.
Right.
He's probably like ideally this is like your 4th lefty if you need them. Like.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be giving this guy too many significant innings.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Yep. So that's it. So again, that was the big signing for the Pirates to start the free agency.
Yep.
But it's a nothing burger. That's all. Outside of that, anything else that you want to touch on?
No, I think that'll do it. Just to kind of plug some stuff that we got going on. Check out Tyler and I went head to head to guess just some random Pirates lineups. Nathan put that video out over the weekend, so check that out if you haven't. I had a good time doing that. I think
it was fun.
Yeah, I think we'll do more of that in the future. It was just it was fun to do. I think you'll enjoy it. Tomorrow we've got an interview with Eric Longenhagen coming out from Fangraphs. So that was a really, really good interview, I thought. So look forward to that coming out tomorrow. Cy Young Award being announced on Wednesday. So, stay tuned. We'll probably have something for that. NS9 Live this week. Yeah, so we got a lot. It's the off season, but we're finally to the point of the off season where like stuff seems to be happening. So
yeah,
we at least have stuff to talk about.
And then we'll cap it off on Friday, Sicko Sound Off. So we saw The Point return, which, by the way, fantastic show. So if you haven't watched The Point, little bit of a different format. Jim hosts it right now, but I thought it was really, really good. So check that out. And then again, with The Point returning, that'll go back and forth with Sicko Sound Off on Friday. So that returns. I'm probably going to be out of town. So I think Tyler and Doug will be handling that show. Doug, if you're hearing this for the first time, you might be handling that show. So welcome. But anyways, yeah. So Sicko Sound Off this Friday. So yeah, it's going to be kind of a packed week. All of this, you have this show, then Eric Longenhagen, but also Baseball America is releasing their top 10 Pirates prospects. So we'll have that's going to come out probably a little bit later. Like
it's going to probably come out within the next 2 hours or so. Yeah. Actually, let me check and see if it's out right now.
And then Jim will put together a little video on that also to have out here shortly. So yeah, a lot of stuff happening this week, even though a lot of stuff is not happening this week. And then
the Pirates top 10 just dropped.
Just did it. Okay. So yeah, we'll talk about a little bit. But then also, yeah, the GM meetings are going to happen this week. So probably not anything happening this week. But again, like we talked about, this is usually where the framework begins. And then the winter meetings, they start picking back up and sometimes things happen. But yeah, this is like a big week in baseball where things are happening, but nothing's actually happening. So it's probably the best way to put it. So yeah, stay tuned and subscribe and hit the bell. Make sure you hit the bell, because what the bell will do is tell you every time we do go live or something drops. So that way you don't have to stay tuned 24/7 to see our content that you guys love so much, because it's just absolutely brilliant. But lastly, as well, the fanboy nominations are out there. We have a whole Twitter thread. Jim's actually, I think, going to put together a Google Doc.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, as I'm saying this, like, are you? And am I now forcing you to because I'm saying it? But yeah, Jim will put together a Google Doc for the people like in our Discord and such, not on Twitter. So that way you can nominate, because the fanboys are going to be out. We're going to have their fanboy show. I know it was a little bit late this year, but we had a lot of stuff going, especially with the Arizona Fall League. So yeah, make sure you get your nominations in so that we can have our voting, and then reveal our fanboys.
Also, the top 10 list is interesting. So, yeah. We'll have something on that later this week too.
Yep. All right, ladies and gents, we are out. We appreciate and love you all. With that being said, bye-bye.
See you guys.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in, whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube. If you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.